The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees and shares all things new. This is Nato, Agbayani, streaming from Quezon City. You're watching hashtag Para sa Bayan on TNC. Hello and welcome back to hashtag Para sa Bayan here on the new channel. We have a special episode tonight. We will be discussing or advocating animal population control, and the people we will feature tonight are the people who are really in the thick of things in really fighting for population control and also animal welfare. From our meetings in the past, na kwento sa atin ng ating guest that there are about 15 million stray animals nationwide. No? So later, of course, now we will introduce them. We have two very special guests. Our first guest, of course, is Marina Ortiz. She was a senior Iyengar yoga teacher who founded Iyengar Yoga Center Manila in the Philippines. She's a rescuer at a very young age and now the founder of Biyaya Animal Care, a social entrepreneurship and an advocates animal welfare. Of course, we have another guest, a veterinarian, Dr. Joden Sumeldan. He's a veterinary surgeon and the medical director of Biyaya Animal Care. He is a graduate of Central Luzon State University and a native of Sablayan, Occidental Mindoro, where there's a lot of tuna, if I'm not mistaken. So let's bring in, of course, our first guest, Doc Joden. Sabayin na natin, Doc Joden and of course, Miss Rina, our good friend. So let's welcome our special guest. Hello, Doc.
Hello po.
Hello, Rina.
Magandang gabi. Hi.
Good evening. Yan. Sabi ko nga, this is the only time the show will allow dogs and cats na mag-ingay. Because this show is really for them. This is really for This show is, this particular episode is for pet lovers. So anyway, meron tayong, during the first 15 minutes of our show, what we do is we try to introduce everybody in their own words. Ika nga, how did you come to be, for example, Rina, how did you come to be founder of Biyaya Animal Center? And then si Doc, of course, how did you become a veterinarian and study vet med in CLSU? So siguro ladies first. Rina, sige, please tell us more about your journey.
Yeah, so it was a series of, I always say a series of unfortunate events that became fortunate. And I started doing rescuing at a very young age. And then at some point, got into TNVR. So that's trap, neuter, vaccinate, return animals, especially cats, so that
Yes.
we would control animals, the stray animal population. And then I met different people, and then eventually Doc Joden. So I'm Doc Joden is Batman and I'm Robin, and uh,
Wow.
and things revealed themselves. We had a plan that was born out of different difficult events, and
Mhm.
so this is where we are now. 30,000 capons in. That's just for outreach, and to be able to support that, we have a 24-hour service hospital on Shaw Boulevard. So
Wow.
that's how it started. Yeah.
Okay. Sige, let's go to Doc Joden. Or if you are Robin and um, Miss Rina is
Doc Jordan is
Batman.
no, Doc Jordan is the Batman. I'm just the supporting
Okay.
role.
If Rina is Robin and you are Batman, Doc Joden, kwento mo naman sa amin, how did you, I mean, coming from Sablayan, of course, I'm sure the wildlife there is,
Yeah.
I mean, very rich. The diversity there is very rich, di ba?
Sobrang
Tell us
rich.
more about the story. Yes, please.
Sobrang rich ng animal biodiversity sa Occidental Mindoro. So, actually, tingin ko it's also na naging vet ako. Kaya ako naging vet is mostly influenced ng family, especially yung father, which is a livestock inspector way back 2000s in our municipality. And as a child, unti-unting madidevelop yung interest mo sa mga animals. So, and by that, uh, by year, parang alam mo na, sa sarili mo na, ito yung gusto kong kunin na path for myself. So, ayan, and then eventually, nade-develop na lang siya through time. So, napapamahal ka dun sa passion mo, sa compassion. So, hanggang maging masaya ka dun sa iyong ginagawa. So, yun, that's how I molded to become a veterinarian. So up to now, of course, still learning, still still doing something different from uh, from what yung nakasanayang veterinarian. So ito nga ngayon kami ni Ma'am Rina is we are doing all that we can para at least we can make our community more more safe, more more loving to animals. So, yun, kaya meron tayong mga ganitong facilities to support and care for animals.
Yun. Thank you, Doc Joden. Trivia lang, actually, my lolo, my grandfather, his name is Dr. Tomas V. Rigor. He's one of the first mga US trained to in the 30s animal husbandry experts. So, eventually, of course, I think that the son, of course, Dr. Ernie Rigor became vice chancellor of LB. Also, an animal husbandry expert. So I think he handled the Alabang livestock farm during the
Mm.
Commonwealth era and also the leper colony in Culion, Palawan. So he was one of the first scientists, animal husbandry scientists of the Philippines in the Western context. Anyway, Dina being the Robin, but I feel I feel you're no, the Justice League for animal welfare. Tell us more about 30,000 capons. That's really a lot. So, anong impact niyan? Why is it necessary for us to really capon cats and dogs? I mean, how does that affect the community? Please tell us about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a two-pronged approach, right? So
Yes.
our campaign is stray free, rabies free Philippines 2030. Now
Mhm.
you can't there are all kinds of resource constraints,
Of
and
course.
if you just vaccinate rabies every year, you're going to have more resources to vaccinate more animals. Okay, so that's why you need to stop the production of the animals. And how do you do that? You do it through capon. So it's not only to stop the production just for the rabies, but many times these animals suffer because people can no longer take care of them,
Mm-hmm.
or the humans themselves don't have the resources to take care of more and more, let alone the government to every year increased by 18 to 20% the budget for rabies. It's very difficult, right, to inoculate properly, to eradicate rabies. So um it's very important because rabies is a deadly disease. There's no escape. Number one, it brings suffering to both animal and humans. And there's also a different suffering that takes place when the animals are not taken care of themselves.
Correct,
So
correct.
we are looking at suffering in all kinds of levels and in all different facets. So we're looking at alleviation of suffering on a physical, mental, and emotional being. Nato, no matter what you say, no matter what anybody says, it's a community. Let's go
Correct.
back. Let's go back biologically. Even the atoms, even the cells are not
Mm-hmm.
individual cells. They are made up of many, many cells within that cell. So if you think about it, even one cell is a community. So to be
Yes,
able to have an enriched community, you have to enrich the experience. And many of the sufferings is unnecessary. So this is why
correct.
we do this. And I mean, let's go back to what was it? Richardson's paradox. Richardson's paradox is the more you look at something, the more complicated it gets. And that's one of these things. When you look into animal welfare, the more you look at it, the more complicated it is because it involves complex structures of community between human and animal. So and it's a beautiful thing. Complexity shouldn't scare you off, but it should um, make you aware of all this. It's a biodiversity. So there's symbiosis and endobiosis, which basically um, it explains uh, a lot of this energy that goes on between animals and humans. So this is basically what we're looking into. So any animal and any human can take joy or pain. So let's go towards the joy so that we can enrich the lives of both humans and animals through what we do.
True, true. All right, nako, very insightful I mean explanation of all these things. Kasi minsan we just look at it in on a clinical level, but I think there was a discussion before in our meetings. Nako, napakalaking tulong ng mga animals even for my own children, ha. We have cats mostly. And then napakalaking tulong during the COVID. Young people were really having a hard time adjusting to being just in the home, and pets in particular, or animals that household, ang laking tulong, no? So I mean, not just to yun pala, there's a symbiotic relationship, di ba? It's not just
Yes.
the person getting pleasure or getting satisfaction from the
No,
animal,
no.
but yes, yes.
Yeah,
Go
Nato,
ahead, go
no,
ahead.
no, Nato, it's very simple. The
Yes,
development of breeds in dogs was brought about by man's need to develop. So he needed to hunt, to feed his family, to feed himself. They
yes,
developed the hunting breed. He needed to be guarded, so they developed the guard dog breed. He needed somebody to help him herd. Herding. So the DNA of humans and animals are deeply embedded and deeply symbiotic. So we developed because we had each other. And that DNA, there's what I said earlier this afternoon when I was talking to someone, is imprinted. It's imprinted in our DNA, this relationship. So it's many lifetimes put together, and that is something that's very hard to explain. But we feel. So what you're saying, ang laki ng tulong. The tulong is that emotional connection. And it's a connection with animals, with ourselves. And we get to learn a lot about ourselves through those animals, just like we get to learn a lot about ourselves through humans. But there's more openness when it comes from animals because they can't really hurt us. So we're less fearful.
So interesting, no? Doc, you've been neutering and spaying so many. Kanina I heard mga 30,000. In that process, in that whole process, how does it help the community sa tingin nyo? I mean, how does it really help? Kanina diniscuss natin on an individual basis how the relationship between animals and people, no? Ngayon, it's a community level and then it's even on a LGU level na there's really an impact. Paano po ba yan? How does that work? Please tell us more about it.
Yes, ever since nag-start ako since 2016 ng mass spay neuter, so I realized na talagang nagkakaroon siya ng malaking impact in the community. Not necessarily to reduce agad yung animal population, but ma-increase yung awareness ng mga tao sa mga veterinary services tulad ng pagkakapon. Kasi I remember one time na pumunta ako sa isang rural areas na talagang walang ka-idea yung mga tao. Though ayaw nilang manganak yung kanilang mga aso at pusa, pero wala silang idea ng mga ganitong services. So when we came into that area, so saka lang nila nalaman na, pwede palang gawin tong ganitong animal population control na humanely. So kasi sa ibang part ng country natin, ang nangyayari is kapag ayaw ng mga tao dun sa panganganak ng mga dogs nila or cats nila, ang ginagawa, tinatapon, yung iba naman nilalason. So napaka-inhumane nung way nung pagkocontrol nila ng animal populations. But it came to the point na nag-start ng magkaroon ng ganitong mga activities, especially in partnership with LGUs. So malaking nagiging tulong niya sa community. Especially yun nga, when it comes to rabies cases natin dito sa Philippines, yearly tumataas siya. With recently, this month of February, so nasa 55 cases na yung na-report na mortality for rabies here in the Philippines. And mas mataas siya ng 8% compared from last year ng the same month. So, ang problem na kasi dito, most of the time, ang naapektuhan ng rabies is yung mga kids. So, napakadelikado. Especially kapag dun sa community is wala kayong idea kung itong mga dogs ba na nandito is bakunado, kanino bang mga dogs yung nandito. So, nagkakaroon ka ng alinlangan na yung mga kids is paglaruin sa labas or pahawakin ng mga dogs. So, malaki nagiging effect sa community, which is dapat hindi naman ganon. So, by doing this kind of animal population control, I can say that I'm proud na since 2016 ginagawa na namin to, and now with Marina, and talagang todo support si Marina sa mga activities like this outreach programs, so throughout the country para lang ma-increase natin yung awareness ng mga pet owners na kailangan mas nating masolusyonan yung pagkakaroon ng overpopulations. So by that, I think naman we are in line with our government to achieve yung rabies-free Philippines 2030. So, hindi naman siya ganun kabilis, but at least unti-unti natin siyang marating. So, masabi ko malaking ang effect niya sa community. And not only by eradicating rabies, but also to empower or to pangaralan yung ating mga pet owners na may mga sakit na pwedeng iwasan through neutering and animal population control. And I remember one time pa, Sir Nato, dun may isang lugar dito sa Philippines na kung saan napakataas ng incidents nila with regards to vehicular accidents involving yung mga stray dogs and cats. So, and one of the most efficient way to resolve that problem is yung pagkakaroon ng mass spay neuter. And usually they do it quarterly. And napakalaking impact nun sa community. And starting nung nagtapon na sila by year 2015, unti-unting bumababa yung kanilang mga cases ng vehicular accident involving yung mga dogs and cats. So, yun, napakalaking impact niya.
Yun, I see. So in effect, no, if we talk about the animal population control, it's really about, well, number one, caring for the animals themselves, also caring for the community,
Yep.
and in the long run, katulad nga yung kanina example na sinabi mo, Doc, para bang ano, no, Rina, it's like yung every now and then may incident sila ng nasasagasaan yung cats and dogs, and it's really ako
Yes,
I
actually,
really have, yes, I really have a
actually, si
soft.
Ma'am Rina, si Sir Nato, si Ma'am Rina, madalas magdala na yan. Rescue na may involved ng vehicular accident, mga strays. So,
Okay.
weekly, or kundi weekly, daily. So, marami
I,
siyang,
you bring the animals to the hospital,
hospital.
Hospital, yeah.
Mhm.
I see them on the road and I bring them.
oh my
Yeah.
god.
I pick,
Oo.
I pick them up. I'm all geared up with my gloves,
Wow.
with the busal and all.
Yeah, yeah.
I've learned, because
Yeah.
that's
Last
the
time,
other thing. I
last time
don't
yung sabi
expect.
ni Ma'am Rina, Doc, tumataas na naman yung mga cases ng mga, yung natalian, yung mga nataliang pusa or mga nasasagasaan.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
This is really a show for pet lovers. Kasi I think a lot of those watching us, no, have their own pets, and also yun nga sabi ko kanina, it's not just the animals and the people, no, also the community that's really being helped here. So assuming we don't do this at all, assuming there's no spaying and neutering, mass neutering, and what's the scenario like? Let's say for a community or a province, what's the scenario like? Who goes first?
Imaginable.
scary,
Yes.
scary.
Scary. Sige. Rina,
No,
what do you
because
think?
you know, there are also 152 zoonotic diseases, so diseases that can pass from animal to human. Now, this is
Okay.
not just cat and dog. This is bats and
Mm-hmm.
horses and God knows what, right? All these animals.
Yes.
Um, so if we concentrate only on dogs and cats, especially in the squatter areas or
Mm.
where people live, you know,
Close to each
very
other.
close to each other in small
Oo.
confines, they still have their dogs, they still have their cats. The dogs mostly to guard them. Some it's really because they're pets, and um, like the children can play with them. Worms can be passed on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
there's a lot of
Oh
stuff.
my.
Scabies. So that's why when we do spay and neuter, yes, you manage the population, but at the same time, we try to help uh, make it known that, aside from spaying, neutering, and anti-rabies, you can also do all these other 5-in-1s and 4-in-1s that take care of dogs contracting diseases that can be passed on, right?
Yes.
Regular deworming of the animals, you know, these are things, that's the next level of animal welfare we want to look at. But, in many ways, uh, there are opportunities also to, when you start talking about this and you start reaching out to some people, they also can start talking to their neighbors and
Correct.
pass on the and we're all mariteses in these Philippines many times, and that
Mm-mm.
helps a lot. That's a positive thing of marites, right?
Yes.
Because
Good.
like
Good.
the rabies, for example. Rabies, it's a very scary thing. You can't get away from it, but you can get away from uh, worms, parasites, uh, uh, migratory parasites that can go into your skin and bore into your skin from dog feces,
Oo.
things like that. It it also lessens the pressure on the LGU. Okay, because a lot of times the LGUs are already have a lot of human concerns. You don't need to add on to it, right?
You don't need to add problems, no? Coming from
Yeah.
animals. Yeah. All right. So, Doc, ikaw, what do you think? Ano, kung wala, hindi tayo mag-spay, mag-neuter, hindi tayo magkapon, ano mangyayari?
Well,
Anong scenario?
sobrang hirap. Siguro masasabi ko, pag hindi tayo nag-spay neuter for the next 10, 20 years, sobrang magiging malala yung problems. Not only with rabies, but also for other diseases na tinatransfer. Sabi nga ni Marina, na natatransfer from dogs to humans. So, and also, it will affect our wildlife. So, malaki ang magiging impact ng mga ginagawa natin today to our future. So, sabi nga nila, at also yung pananaw ng mga at also yung pananaw dun sa ating bayan. So sabi nga ni Mahatma Gandhi, the greatness of a nation and moral progress is judged on how they treat their animals. So napakalaking impact noon para sa napakagandang napakagandang motivations for us veterinarians. So kung ano yung kaya natin gawin ngayon na force natin problem in the future, sana magawa. Kasi ang unang-unang ina-address natin ngayon kung bakit natin ginagawa yung gantong problem is yun nga, eradication ng rabies. So it's proven na napakahirap i-eradicate ng rabies kung bakuna ka lang ng bakuna. So we need to have another solution that will in line with the vaccination program of our government. So which is we think that yung pagkakapon or pagkakaroon ng mga mass spay neuter to control yung animal population is also a mahalagang sangkap para maging successful yung ating eradication program for rabies. So yun, sobrang lala kapag hindi natin to ginawa today. Kasi maraming sakit yung maglilipa na or kakalat na possible na dumating yung time na hindi na natin makontrol. And yun yung as a perspective as a veterinarian. So yun yung nakikita ko, yung spread ng mga diseases. So yun yung nakikita kong problems if hindi natin na mabibigyan ng solution tong gantong status on animal population control.
Ayun. Nako, thank you, Doc, and thank you, Rina. No? We're at this point, we're at about half of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, nakapag-usapan natin kanina ang journey ng ating mga guests tonight. No? And then, of course, napag-usapan natin yung ano ba itong animal population control. And then, of course, its impact on individuals, the community, and even the LGU. On a larger scale, syempre, yung entire country natin, no, we want to, that's why there is a hashtag para sa bayan because we want to discuss these things over the air and via live stream. So, at this point, we will just have a short break, ladies and gentlemen. Babalik po tayo with Rina and Doc Joden later. We will deepen the discussion on animal population control. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back. This is hashtag para sa bayan, Nato Agbayani, here on TNC. is the new channel. Of course, the new channel is an alternative platform of new media, of online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows. Our channel is a responsible global 24/7 platform that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. And of course, you can watch live or replay via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on IG, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Just search hashtag TNC Now for sponsorships. Please email now at the new channel or send us a DM. Enjoy these life-changing shows because we made them all for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Of course, we're back with our guest, our very important and very special guests who are fur lovers or pet lovers, not just pet lovers but pet rescuers or animal rescuers. Let's welcome back, of course, Rina Ortiz and Doc Joden, yeah, of Biyaya Animal Care Center. So, hello, welcome back to our show.
Yes.
After that short break, I was thinking about right now we have here at home. I forgot to feed them, so there's about six of our cats. So after this show, I'll immediately feed them because later on they will be knocking on my room, and I don't know what to do after that. So anyway, thank you for joining us, Rina and Doc Joden. Kanina we discussed about yung impact natin. No? Assuming hindi tayo mag-spay and neuter, siguro we will just what are the siguro we will ask you what are your unique experiences you've been to how many LGUs na ang dami I can't count. So what's your unique experience or what are the unique characteristics of the LGUs and its people on let's say yung cultural practices nila na very different that you've seen over time. Just tell us more about your journeys going around the Philippines for spaying and neutering and animal population control. Rina, you first.
You know, you get to understand our we're very tribal still at the end of the day. People from Manila are very different from people in Baguio and very different from people in Cavite. And but what I do notice is that um, there is they all the LGUs recognize that spaying and neutering is an important aspect of managing not only their animal populations but also of managing the community. So when we started going, for example, to Baguio and Mayor Benji, I was able to approach Mayor Benji through uh, his uh, his PMA classmate, General um, Jojo, and they were already doing a little bit, but they were interested. The city veterinary office of Baguio was very interested, and they have a large group. They have a big team. So right away, they jumped in and they started to learn flank. A flank method is something we do spaying on the side instead of abdominal surgery, right? And they jumped in without fear, and then in the end, they're doing spay and neuter about now. So 2 years later, on their own, about 70, 80 a week. So that's one LGU.
That's a
That's
lot.
Baguio. Yes, on their own. The first time we went, we did 600, I think. The first time we
Wow.
went for four
Yes.
days.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we went back, and now they're completely confident in doing it on their own, and they're doing it on their own. Though we still go once in a while for mass spay and neuter. In other LGUs where they have maybe they don't have a veterinarian, they have an agriculturalist, right? because
Yes.
not all municipalities particularly have a veterinarian. So that's
Mhm.
where we come in. So there's all these different flavors, but the common thread is that they really want to help the community by addressing the needs of the animals, the small animals, the pets, basically. So um those are the different things that we go through. In other areas, they, for example, are a little bit more quote unquote unsure about having,
Yes.
spay and neuter. In fact,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel that in some places, the men are the ones feeling like they're going to be kapon. So they don't want their animals to be kapon. So, that kind of idea. But yes, yes, there is that, right? And like what Doc Jordan said, the more difficult areas is that they have no idea that kapon could be done. They had no idea that females can be spayed. They thought it's only male. So there's a lot of education needed to be disseminated, information. So, but Doc Jordan has more experience because, like, he goes to little islands. We send him off to little islands. He's gone to all the little islands in Siargao, Surigao, uh, Gigante. So he would be able to have more experiences. Doc Jordan, ikaw na.
Yeah.
Sige, sige, Doc.
So
Yes, please.
yung sa tanong niyo sir, yung sa tanong niyo sir Nato, what happened if yun nga sa walang ginagawang spay neuter dito sa Philippines or sa ating bansa? So I have this experience once sa isang island dito sa Philippines. Sa sobrang dami ng populations, actually maliit lang siyang island eh. Pero sa sobrang dami nga ng dogs and cats, nag-iisip yung mga tao kung paano how to get rid of those dogs, and it came to the point na ang ginagawa nila is they put poison doon sa mga pagkain. And then nung dumating ako doon sa island na yon, so tingin mo kaliwat kanan talagang merong mga patay na dogs. So andun sila sa may tabing kalsada, nabubulok na, and then sa sobrang dami, talagang hindi kayang i-sustain nung LGU, maliit na LGU or yung barangay nila, yung population ng dogs. So, and nung pagpunta namin doon, at least, so say for example, nung sinurvey namin is around 200 dogs doon sa island. And hopefully, nung ginawa namin yung project, hindi na siya nag-increase. So ang ginagawa na lang ng mga barangay doon is bakuna na lang sila ng bakuna yearly. And then madali naman i-control yung pagpasok ng mga animals since isolated na island siya. So nababawasan na rin yung mga cases ng paglalason ng mga dogs and cats. So isa yun sa mga instances kung saan kapag sobrang dami na ng mga dogs and cats na hindi na kayang kontrolin or walang ginagawa yung ating mga government or LGUs, or hindi naman sa hindi nila wala silang ginagawa, hindi lang talaga nila mabigyan ng priority yung mga ganong problem. So ganun yung nangyayari. Kakaroon ng paglalason sa mga dogs, so pasok sa mga animal welfare, so sa animal cruelty. So especially yon. And yan is ang paglalason ng mga dogs or pagkain ng mga dogs is mahigpit na pinagbabawal sa ating batas. So may karapatang parusa, kumbaga yung mga ganong activities. And isa rin na nakikita ko noon is yung kawalan nga ng educations or yung kaalaman ng mga tao dun sa mga areas like those sa mga small island dito sa Philippines na kung saan talagang sobrang dami ng populations ng dogs and cats. So hopefully mabigyan ng government na subsidized budget yung ating mga NGOs or budget for this kind of activities para na rin maging successful yung ating target na stray-free, rabies-free Philippines 2030. So, yun, sa mga magandang situation kung saan may papakita mo na kapag hindi na-control yung animal populations, is ganun yung nangyayari. So,
Yun.
yeah.
So, thank you doon sa ano, I mean, ang gandang kwa natin, no? I mean, like kasi government on its own, really, it's really a matter of using limited resources, and sometimes hindi naman sa ano that hindi naman sa it's inept or what, but it's really lack of resources at a certain point. Kaya maybe volunteer work like what Biyaya does is really very important. Tulad ng sa island that you mentioned, no? Imagine mo if there were no intervention, tuloy lang nothing to, let's say, encourage other in neutering, no? Siguro maybe we can ask you to tell them or give them a parang call to action, those people who are responsible for of course handling the animal population. Please give them an idea, no, what they can do. So Rina first and then Doc uli. So Robin first and then Batman. Okay?
Always. Kami yung
Wait,
first
do it.
reconnaissance.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So,
Please
you know,
tell us more
um,
about it.
yeah. So, information. The barangays can first, many barangays don't even know, like I said, that females can also be kapon. So let's start there. Let's give information to the barangay, and that this can be done, and maybe they can contact their LGUs, and their LGUs, there's not only Biyaya who does this, a lot of other people do it. And if they can just even look online of what can be done. But more importantly, to begin maybe, is does the barangay have a ordinance? Do they have an ordinance as to what is their definition of animal welfare, of what are the responsibilities of owning an animal? Now that can be tricky because if you're living in a small island, the dogs are allowed to run free, and if they're free roaming, they're also able to procreate, right? So there should be like a information drive through an ordinance or through something like that. Now, of course, implementation is hard. It's more difficult. You may have an ordinance, but you can start off with that. Get an idea of guiding the people. How many pets but can you really support, and what does it mean to support? Can you feed them? Do you have a place for them? Do you have time for them? Right? Can you give them the necessary vaccinations? These are all important things. It starts off with letting them know that this is what it means to be a fur parent. Now, mind you, I say fur parent and I don't say fur owner. Because as a parent, the responsibilities, magulang kayo. So it's of a different level na, right? So it starts off there, and then get information, and then we're also trying to, as much as possible through social media, um, let it be known that these are the things that can be done, that that can be done for dogs and cats, and that's where you start. You know, there are places where you go up north where they don't even have cell phone. I mean, forget smartphone. They don't even have cell phone. So how do we reach those areas? It's really through the LGUs and on the barangay level. And it's not always easy because the barangays don't even have the budget. So let's start with information first, and then hopefully uh, through the like provincial vets, the city vets, information goes down, like goes down and trickles down is what I mean. So a good example again is again Baguio, who's huge, and they also support La Trinidad in some way. So that's how it starts, and now, like I said, they're doing it on their own because initially, in the beginning, they were worried. Would their pets die? Oh, if there are these ideas. Oh, if you make bakuna your dog, they'll die. Things like that. So that's where it starts.
Yun. Okay. Dina, thank you. Doc, what do you think? Anong pwedeng natin gawin to support this effort, no, for
Yes,
animal control?
yes. Alam mo sir Nato, addressing this animal population problem in the Philippines is very challenging. So challenging siya in terms na hindi siya mabilisan. So it's a slow process, and challenging siya in terms na hindi it's a collaborative effort, both NGOs, LGUs, and private individuals. So hindi siya kayang gawin ng LGU itself na siya lang mismo, hindi siya kayang gawin ng NGO na siya lang mismo or yung mga private individuals. Kailangan magtulong-tulong to address this kind of problem, animal population. So lately may mga nakausap akong mga colleagues na nagtatrabaho in specific areas of LGUs. So I'm asking, bakit bihira lang kayo magkaroon ng mga ganitong project, especially yung mass spay neuter? So ang sagot nila nun is hindi kasi siya priority ng government. So ang tanong ko naman is, kailan siya magiging priority ng government? Pag siguro sobrang laki na. So ang hirap nun. Katulad ng sinabi mo kanina, sir, is ano mangyayari kapag walang ganitong mga program? So darating tayo dun sa point na gano'n, na baka yung pounds natin is magpatulog ng mga around 200, 300 dogs per week. So napakasakit nun. And as per mga LGUs na nakakausap ko, ng mga colleagues, ng mga veterinarians, so napakasakit para sa part nila nung ganong pag-address sa issue na i-euthanize yung mga dogs in pounds. So remember that our oath is to treat animals, not to put them to sleep, especially pag wala na mapaglagyan. So yun yung mga isang mga problems na kinakaharap namin as mga veterinarians. So especially dun sa mga colleagues namin nagtatrabaho sa mga cities, sa our city vets or municipal vets. So ang hope ko lang is sana ma-address siya ng government or mabigyan ng funds ng government yung pag-address, especially sa ganitong issue. Na ngayon is, actually issue na siya, pero wag na nating palakihin pa in the future kasi mahirapan na rin tayo niyan i-control. Especially 5 years, 10 years from now na wala tayong ginawa sa ganitong problem. So hopefully, yun, magkaroon ng mga collaborations from different organizations and LGUs especially. So sila LGU, sana magkaroon ng budget or magkaroon sila ng regular na programs for animal populations. So hindi nasagot yung pag-euthanize sa mga pounds no mga to address yung animal population. So meron tayo ngayong pinupush, which is yung neutering or mass spay neuter to control yung animal population. So hopefully later on maging effective siya. So yun lang yung para sa akin.
Yun, ako, thank you, Doc. I mean, at the end of the day, parang I think it's really a matter of realizing priorities, but kasi parang sa dami, usually ang budget kasi ng pamahalaan is merong GAD budget, which is 5% of the total, merong DRRM, merong for PWDs, for senior citizens, merong health budget, merong education. So these are parang predetermined na at the start. So it really has to be, siguro sa tingin ko, coming formerly from Congress, parang siguro kailangan talaga it's a national legislation na mag-trickle down sa baba, even down to the barangay, no, at the end of the day. So yun, grabe. The show is so fast. We only have 1 hour and now we have only a few minutes left. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Joden and of course Rina. Guys, yes, please give us a few more words to encourage. I'm part of the group also helping to do this because I understand na if we don't come in as stakeholders, talaga namang stakeholders tayo dito, the health situation would become worse and we would have a tragedy in front of us if we don't address this. So please, Rina and Doc Joden, please talk to our leaders and encourage them to go via this path and really control animal population and hopefully ma-prioritize ng national government and then so resources maging funded yung mga legislation. So Rina, please, a few more words for our LGUs and our leaders. Yes, please.
It's very easy to contact us and we can help you. And if we can't help you, there are many groups that can. You can also organize your communities, your barangays, and um, and if you get to do that, then you will understand the importance of what we're talking about. You will also understand that your constituents, this is important to your constituents. Believe it or not, we have been to areas where the mayor was like, oh, okay, sige, just do it, whatever. And then when he saw the turnout, 400 people coming with their
Wow.
pets, yes,
Nagulat
in
ka.
one day, in one day. So it's a need. It is also a need, and I understand there are many needs, but
Mhm.
it is a need also of your constituents, and it's not only health wise, but it's also psychologically and mental health. Depends on all these things because of the connection between the animal and the pet and the neighbors, because that
Yes,
can also be a problem between neighbors, right?
correct, correct.
um yeah, so uh, uh come talk to us, come talk to other animal welfare groups, so that we can help you if we can, or give you ideas or guidelines. We already help some barangays, and we print out, for example, an edited version of the Animal Welfare Act, edited, which we only put the most what we feel is the most important, which is, don't start breeding, don't treat your animals badly, etc., etc. So uh, a happy community is a community that works together. So please believe us when we say that animals can bring people together or tear them apart. So let's build a nation instead of tearing a nation apart.
Nako, thank you, Rina. Doc Joden, please, your last words. Hindi man last words.
Yes.
Let's, call to action natin sa ating mga LGUs and our leaders. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes. So, yun, Sir Nato, they say nga, the world is constantly changing. So, I think it's time now to push our government, our local government unit, or our national government to address this kind of problem about animal population control. So, hopefully, they realize it sooner before mas lumala yung problem. So, makapag-ala tayo ng budget, makapag-ala tayo ng strategies to control yung animal population. So it's hindi naman yan para sa atin, but in the future generations as well. So ayun lang, hopefully our government would recognize what the private individuals, the NGOs, the LGUs is doing to address this kind of problem and to support those projects as well in the future. So maraming salamat po.
Nako, thank you. So, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us here on Hashtag Para sa Bayan. This is really a nation-building public affairs show here on the new channel, and we really want to educate people. They listen about animal welfare, etc. So it's really very important for us to have you. Anyway, Rina, thank you so much.
No,
We
thank
we
you. Thank
we
you, Nato.
support your effort to do this. Of course, alam mo naman tayo volunteer din. So hopefully we can reach out to as many LGUs. Doc Joden, thank you very much for joining
Sure.
us here on Hashtag Para sa Bayan. It's
Yes.
really been a very educational show or episode tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the Batman and Robin from Biyaya Animal Care Center, of course. And with that, we'd like to thank everyone for watching the show. This is our episode on animal population control. And ladies and gentlemen, we encourage the LGUs, also the leaders, to really go into animal population control, because this is the only way that we can really help not just our constituents but also the animals who are already an integral part of our society. No? So with that, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Pagpalain nawa kayo ng Panginoong Diyos. At don't forget to watch, of course, Hashtag Para sa Bayan every Saturday, 9 p.m. here on the new channel. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. No? And then, of course, love your animals, love your pets. Tayo po ay mga pet lovers. Sabi nga nila, pet lover is also, yon, mape-prevent natin, magkakaroon tayo ng unity in the community and also unity in, also in the entire country. So, yan po ang hashtag para sa bayan ngayong gabi. Sa susunod na Sabado po, hopefully we can have another special guest discussing very important issues here on the show. So that's it. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat and God bless you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.